What's happening, guys? Welcome back to Rock Guitar School. So, we got more Van Halen news. Eddie Van Halen. This is just great. More stuff is being put out. It seems, there's been times where there's been such a lull in Van Halen stuff, Van Halen albums. Any kind of release is being put out. We had that period from like 1998 to 2012 to where there was nothing. I mean, other than a few tours. Obviously, 1998 with Gary Sharon, and then finally looped back around with they did that live tour with Sammy in the early 2000s, and then David Lee Roth came back eventually, and then they did a different kind of Truth in 2012. But that was 2012. That was the last Van Halen album. And I think there's just a treasure trove of stuff that is just sitting around, So I did a previous video on that. This is more, Eddie Van Halen material, not necessarily, Eddie Van Halen music. This is Brian May that, he featured Eddie Van Halen on his Starfleet record. So this is the early 80s, guys. I believe it's 83. So 1983, Brian May has confirmed that he is working on a reissue box set of his Starfleet project, the 1983 mini album he recorded with Eddie Van Halen. So this looks really cool. I've heard stuff. I've heard some of the stuff from this record. I've never bought anything. I think I found stuff on YouTube. It's very different. I mean, it sounds like 1983. Like, it sounds like some sort of weird sci-fi. I think there was some sort of movie that he did. I really, to be honest, guys, I really don't really understand the project. But anything upcoming, anything that Eddie Van Halen is on, something's gonna be good about it. And I've heard like some solos that he's done on this project, and it's Eddie Van Halen. I mean, especially in 1983, where that was such a great period. When you think of the stuff that he was doing in back then, you got 1983, 1984, they came out with the 1984 album, obviously. And, he was collaborating with Michael Jackson, with Beat It. His playing was just absolutely on fire at that time. Not that it never has been, but there was a particular style, just, I don't know, flame that you listen to the solo on Beat It. I can listen to that solo over and over and over again, and it just absolutely rips, and that's really what he was doing, and if you listen to some of this, you can hear Eddie, going off for sure, and it looks like we're gonna hear more of that. Here's a quote from Brian May: "You'll hear us in the studio trading licks," says May, and that's if there's like outtakes and stuff like that, it's gonna be crazy. So I'll go ahead and read through this, guys. May previously told Total Guitar that he had revisited the material following Van Halen's untimely passing in 2020, and that it had healed my soul a bit. Now the Queen icon has told Variety that a remixed box set release is imminent. "I'm working on the Starfleet box set, which is number 3 in the Brian May Gold series, and probably to be released halfway into next year," says May in the new interview. The original sessions took place on a break from Queen touring activities, a time in which May found himself settling in LA. Inspired by a puppet sci-fi show that his kids loved, May decided to use it as an excuse for some studio-based fun and invited Van Halen along with session pro and longtime Rod Stewart bassist Phil Chen, REO Speedwagon drummer Alan Gratzer, and Queen touring keyboardist Fred Mandel along for the ride. A few solo tracks were thrown in for good measure, and across 2 days at LA's record plant, the Starfleet project was born. I've opened up these tapes where I'm jamming with Eddie Van Halen and Phil Chen. It is highly emotional again, as Ed's not around, neither is Phil, May tells Variety. And I've been talking to Alex Van Halen and started thinking about how I wish I had stayed closer to Ed. I have a huge regret about that. He was a wonderful soul, a Peter Pan who never grew up. Never wanted to grow up and never should have grown up. He should still be with us. Listening to him and me, I felt completely outclassed by him in the studio, but in a very pleasant way. What joy for me to be around a guy who could do all that. Such a privilege. May says he's been working on remixes of the material, and as he told Total Guitar back in 2020, shaping them up for life in the 2020s, but that you'll also be able to hear the rough cuts and jams that led to the final recordings. So you'll hear us in the studio trading licks, continues May. I was never fond of the original mix of Starfleet, the single, so we cleaned that up. Now, EVH's sound is larger than life. You'll hear the development of Eddie's solo, which I always thought was one of the greatest things he did. A real immortal classic of Ed Van Halen pieces. We are going to give you everything, every take of every song, the things gone wrong, the laughing, the finding new things to do. And that's the end of the article, guys. This sounds really cool. I mean, just to kind of wrap that up, it just sounds like we're going to get like a kind of an insider's point of view. You know, basically being inside the studio with these guys, just hearing exactly, you know, what went on. And it just sounds like, you know, almost like kind of sneaking into the studio, just kind of hearing, you know, what these guys were up to. Like I said before, guys, you know, that from what I heard of the album, you know, it sounds really, you know, to be honest with you guys, you know, just kind of oddballish to me. I'm really looking forward to hearing the outtakes. You know, again, anything Eddie Van Halen that's like, you know, him ripping back in 1983, yeah, I want to hear that. So I'm looking forward to this, guys. You know, I'll definitely check it out. I hope we're going to see more Van Halen, Eddie Van Halen releases, period. You know, that's the goal here, just to get all this stuff out. You know, the guy was a genius. I want to hear everything that's not available for, you know, for the public to hear. We need to hear everything. You know, I want to hear, you know, just anything that he did, you know. And I'm, you know, like I said, guys, I'm looking forward to it. Hope you are too. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Hit like if you liked the video. Hit subscribe for more videos like this. And I really appreciate it, guys. Have fun. Rock on. Take care.